Hello and welcome to the Penalty Box Perspective podcast. My name is Nathaniel and I'm joined once again by my good friend Matt. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm very good, Nathaniel. Yeah, how are you? All good?
Yeah, I'm good. Looking forward to this week's sort of mini episode. I'll let you lead off on what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, so on this week's mini episode, we're going to be doing a little bit of fun, a bit of an awards prediction ahead of the 25-26 season. There's numerous awards throughout the NHL that's given to players for various reasons. So for each of us, we've gone and picked who we think is the most likely to win it. We've each then as well got a little bit of an outsider option as well. So yeah, it'll be another thing that we can look back on at the back end of the season or at this time next year and wondering how we got on and how we've fared. We've then also got a few little very quick fire team predictions ahead of the new season as pre-season is well underway. Just wanted to, before we got into this, however, just a quick little tidbit for you all. Obviously, we are recording this on the 29th of September, 2025. And last night, or into this morning in the United Kingdom, there was a pre-season game between my Chicago Blackhawks and Nathaniel's Minnesota Wild. Nathaniel, how did that game go?
Um, I really want to swear at you. Well, it obviously didn't go well for the Wild. Obviously, it's only pre-season, so don't get your hopes up too high. But yeah, she did beat us 4-1. Um, yeah, I don't know what to say.
Well, I'm aware it's a pre-season. All I may be more gloating than usual. Put it like this: I don't know how many opportunities I'm going to have to do this season. So if I can get a win, even in the pre-season, I'm going to take it. Lovely to see a hat trick from Frank Nazar yesterday as well, and yeah, I think he's going to be a player turning a lot of heads. I think there's a lot of players, a lot of people out there who don't know as much about what he's about, but I think they're going to be aware very soon. I just wanted to touch on that very quickly, just because I'm never going to pass up that opportunity. Um, so, awards. So, just to break this down for you all, we're going to be going through. We're not going to be going through every single award in the NHL because some of them are incredibly hard to quantify. But we're going to be going through the Hart Trophy, so for the league's MVP, the Art Ross Trophy, so for the most points scored in the regular season, the Rocket Richard Award for the most goals, the Selke Trophy for the best defensive forward, the Norris Trophy for the best defenseman, the Vezina for the best goalie, the Calder Trophy for the best rookie, and the Jack Adams Trophy for the best coach. So we're going to start with the Hart Trophy. So that's for the most valuable player in the league in the regular season. Last season's winner of that was Connor Hellebuck for the Winnipeg Jets. I know we've discussed this now a couple of times. Just a really, really impressive season from him last year. Obviously, it's not often that a goalie wins the most valuable player in the league, especially with the plethora of talent that is in the league. But Nathaniel, who's your favourite? Do you have for the Hart Trophy?
Yeah, my favourite is Nathan McKinnon. Now, not to ruin the future picks for the other awards, I just think Colorado is going to have a really good season, and I think McKinnon's going to be key to that. So therefore, best player on the best team potentially is where I went down with it.
Yeah, that's completely fair enough. I feel that entirely. Uh, I had Nathan McKinnon as my outside option, and for me, it's going to be literally the most unsurprising and vanilla answer for the Hart Trophy. I've gone with Connor McDavid. I just think this guy is going to be hacked off this season. I think he's going to be playing with a little bit of frustration due to the sort of lack of getting over the line the last 2 years. And I think that he's just going to go on an absolute tear. I could see him putting up a ridiculous number of points and potentially leading Edmonton to some success this year. But yeah, I've got Connor McDavid as my choice for the Hart Trophy, with McKinnon as my outside pick. And who did you have for your outside on the Hart?
Now, well, I'll touch on your pick with Conor McDavid because that isn't who I've selected as my outside uh, pick. I think you're right in terms of he's got a lot to play for this year. I think obviously I'd say he's probably the best player in the league. Um, but I like to spice things up and not go for the best player. But yeah, my my outside pick again might surprise some people, but it's going to be Mitch Marner. I, d- I don't know. It is an outside pick, so I've gone a bit wild here. But if he just hits it off in Vegas, moving from the Leafs, and just smashes it in the Western Conference, in a tougher division, etc., then I think he could well be in with a shout. I do think I am solely in the McKinnon feel like crowd in this, though. I don't know if Marner's actually gonna win, but if he does, he's gonna have a mega season.
Absolutely. And again, not to go too deep into the spoilers, but I think if Mitch Marner's going to be the outside pick for the for the Hart Trophy, I think he could well pick up some other trophies in the process. So with that, we'll move on to the Art Ross Trophy. Now, the Art Ross Trophy is awarded to players with the most points scored in the regular season. So that's a combination of goals and assists. Um, and yeah, who do you have as your favorite? Well, sorry, we should mention as well, last year's was won by the Tampa Bay Lightning's Nikita Kucherov, who had an absolutely outrageous season last year. I'm just looking it up now. He was well over 100 points. He had 30 in a 24-25 season. Nikita Kucherov played 78 games. He had 37 goals and 84 assists, which I believe combines for 121 points, which is just absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous,
Insane.
especially, you know, I mean, he's only 32 as Kucherov, so he's still got a number of years left at the top of his game. But that is just an absolutely ridiculous points total. Um, Now, there does tend to be a little bit of crossover between the Art Ross and the Hart. Usually, the player who has got the most points tends to also have been the most valuable player in the league. So again, might be vanilla, but my Art Ross pick again is Conor McDavid. I think if he is going to go on the season that he's going to have to win the Hart Trophy, I think he's going to go out there and have the most points in the league in doing so. My outside pick for the Art Ross, which hopefully might bring you a bit of joy, is Kirill Kaprizov. Now, again, I know this is obviously kind of dependent on his fitness and his contract, which again we've discussed ad nauseum about everything going on with Kirill. But I just think if he can stay healthy, if he can get his contract sorted, there's absolutely no reason why he couldn't go on an absolute. We've seen what he can do in 60 to 70 games. If he can play all 82, then sky's the limit for him.
If this was a award for sort of point per game averages, I think he's definitely in with a shout. But that is definitely an outside pick, and that's me being a pessimist. Uh, I mean, I agree with you on in terms of my main pick. I've gone for Conor McDavid as well, and I understand your point as well about how most of the time the player with the most points will generally get the heart. I went with a slightly different tack of obviously the best player on the best team, so not necessarily a one man team in terms of points getting, but overall best player. But yeah, I think Conor McDavid. I mean, he's just a point machine. He's always done it, uh, mainly with assists. But him and Draisaitl, I think he's going to do it. But my outside pick again, I've gone Mitch Marner. I just think if he's going to be the outside chance of winning the MVP, then to do so, he's going to have to score points. So that's why I've gone and followed that up with that.
Yeah, I think there is definitely, like I said, there's definitely sort of an intrinsic link between the two, where generally, yeah, you're the most valuable player because you've scored the most points. I think in your case with Marner, if he's going to want that consideration for the best player in the league, he's probably going to have to go out there and score a lot of points. Obviously, it's something we know he can do, and he's been able to do in Toronto. Hopefully, he'll be able to replicate that and even improve upon that in Vegas. But I think that is really going to be it's going to be one of the biggest stories of the year for sure. Is just seeing how Marner makes that transition from Toronto to Vegas. Um, okay, that leads us into the Maurice Rocket Richard Trophy. Now, this is awarded to the player who scores the most goals in the regular season, named after the legendary Maurice Richard, who was a part of those Montreal Canadiens teams in the 60s. That I know we've mentioned on this podcast before, but he was just an absolute goal machine. So last year's Rocket Richard was won by Leon Draisaitl in Edmonton, probably the beneficiary of a lot of assists from Connor McDavid. I have gone for as my favourite pick for the Richard with Austin Matthews. I think that Austin Matthews is someone who, similarly to McDavid, I think is playing with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder this year. I think that there's a lot of questions and a little bit of, for me, unwarranted criticism being thrown the way of Austin Matthews in relation to, how on earth is he possibly going to cope without Mitch Marner feeding him the puck all the time? But I think this year potentially Matthews is going to show that he's not just just not a goal merchant, but someone who is more than capable of fashioning goal scoring chances for himself as well. Um, and I think he could absolutely go on a tear. I think he's due for a massive year. So yeah, Austin Matthews is my pick there. Who have you gone for your favourite pick for the Richard?
Uh, I've gone for Mikko Rantanen. I think from the track on how he did last year, going to Dallas, I think this year he's going to score a lot of goals for for what is sort of a lesser team, if that makes sense. But yeah, I've just gone for Rantanen, and I guess that might be also like an outside pick. Might not be expecting that, but I think he's going to have a stellar year in Dallas.
Yeah, no, I can completely see that. I think especially now he's got that he's got that assurance of the long-term contract signed there as well. Obviously, he's bought in there. They've got an extremely talented roster, and yeah, I don't think that's an outrageous pick at all. And then, what about your outsider pick? So you've gone Rantanen as your favoured pick. What about your outsider for the Richard?
I'm gonna sound like a broken record here, but for Marner to win the MVP, the outside pick, he's going to need to score a lot of points, and a lot of points will come with a lot of goals. So I think as well when he's going to play on that top line in Vegas, uh, or playing with Eichel or Stone or whoever, he's going to be I think the main goal scorer for that team. So I think that's where he's going to get a lot of his points.
Yeah, I think I could see Marner and Eichel flip-flopping between the pair of them. To be fair, I think one of those two players will end the year with an unreal amount of goals, and the other will end up with an unreal amount of assists from spending the whole year just setting them up. I couldn't tell you which direction it's going to go, which is why I didn't pick either of those two. I've gone with a very rogue option for the Rocket Richard. For my outside pick, I've gone with Alex Ovechkin because why not? Yeah, he might be pushing 40. He's already the NHL's leading goal scorer. I just think that there's potentially, could be his last season, could be the swan song year for Alex Ovechkin, and what a better way to go out than to win the Richard. Yeah, you got any thoughts on any sort of chance of Ovi doing that?
That's a sweetheart pick, that if there ever was one. Uh, I mean, as much as I love the sentiment, I can't see that happening. He didn't get it on the year he was trying to score as many goals as possible. And yes, he had obviously time out with a broken leg, but I don't think he was ever in play of him winning it last year when goals meant everything. So I can't see him doing it this year. But if I'm wrong, I'll be happy about it.
He is currently at 897 in terms of his career goals. So he could hit 1,000 if he scores 103 goals in the league this season. Um, nah, I
Every time
mean,
he enters the zone, he's just taking a shot
just
just in
ripping
case.
it. Yeah, I mean, he's been doing that for 20 years anyway. And
Yeah,
it's
yes.
gone all right for him. Yeah. So we'll move into the Selke Trophy. Now, the Selke Trophy is awarded to the best defensive forward. So the best forward who shows the huge aspects of the 200-foot game. Um,
Huge.
Now, for years, this was the Patrice Bergeron Award unofficially. When Patrice Bergeron was playing with the Boston Bruins, it seemed as though this was just an award that he won every single year. Obviously, he has since retired, and it's almost starting to become the Alexander Barkov Award. He is the current holder of that. However, slight problem in that, in terms of his chances of winning, because he's not going to be playing this season. The Florida Panthers confirming that Barkov's had surgery on both an ACL and MCL injury that he acquired simultaneously, which sounds incredibly painful. Um, but he's going to miss the next 7 to 9 months of hockey. So I mean that pretty much writes him off for the entirety of the season. So with that in mind, my favourite for the Selke, I've gone with Sam Reinhart, his teammate. He was a finalist for the Selke Award last year. Got pipped to it by Barkov. I just think with him out the picture, he's going to have even more opportunity to be in those situations that require him to be defensively solid. And I just think it could be far and away for him, his to lose, so to speak. Um, who's your favourite for the Selke, Nathaniel? And also, if you've got a quick thought on the injury to Barkov.
Yeah, it's a big loss for the Panthers. That obviously a big shame for Barkov as well. Whether or not they three-peat and he might not be part of it, I think this is going to be sort of almost career defining for him, which is quite sad. But that being said, it in terms of just picking an award, it's completely thrown me completely. That this was the award I was most confident in making these predictions when we were writing them up this week, and then at the 11th hour, it's just completely turned on its head. So I've gone for a bit of a wild one. I've gone for Sebastian Neho stepping up for that. Again, I don't really know why. I just sort of thought, yep, that's where I'm going to go with that. Um, yeah,
I don't
that's
think
all I
that's
can
a
say.
I don't think that's a rough pick at all. I think that's a very sensible. I think, Aho gets constant praise for his ability to be very defensively solid, and he's almost like an Alexander Barkov light. Almost. I mean, not to diminish his abilities at all. He's still an extremely gifted player, but in terms of his skill set and his physicality and his ability to operate very, very well defensively, um, then yeah, I think that's a very solid pick. So you've gone with Arho sort of in your primary position. What about your outsider? You got a pick there?
Yeah, again in the same kind of mould, really. A player who is known for his defensive play, but isn't necessarily a standout. I think this is a year for the underdog. So I've gone for Nico Hischier for the Devils. Again, solid player, and I think the Devils are going to do well this year. So I think Hischier will get be in with a good shout. What about you?
Yeah, I love that pick of Hisha again. I think, and like you said, with Barkov being out, it's going to be a really really interesting one this year. I mean, the potential chances that Reinhardt goes out and just absolutely dusts everybody for this award, but it certainly leaves the door open, I think, a lot more than for other awards. I've gone with another romantic pick. I am showing love to the senior citizens today. I've selected Anze Kopitar for my outside pick for the Selkie. He's announced it's going to be his final season, so this is officially the swan song year for Anze Kopitar. Always been someone who's been an incredible two-way forward. Just especially again finding a way to bring it back to the Blackhawks, but they had a massive rivalry with the LA Kings around the time that they were being competitive within those Stanley Cups, the cup runs themselves. And Kopitar was often a thorn in the side of that team. So yeah, he's an outstanding player and someone who I think, I also think that there's a little bit of a romanticism with the panels, and potentially if they're on a bit of if he has a really good season and it's sort of between him and someone else, are they more likely just to go, yeah, we'll give it to him. We'll give it to him because it's his last season. So could happen. I think it's very unlikely, but never say never.
Yeah, if
Um,
he continues on his decent trend, if he doesn't fall off the cliff, etc., in terms of his play, then yeah, I like it. It's nice.
yeah, yeah, we need a bit of nicety in the world from time to time. So that moves
Yes.
us on to the Norris Trophy, which is awarded for the best defenseman. Now, I have a little sub point on this. We're going to discuss the Norris, but then I have a little sort of sub caveat point with this about the Norris and why it frustrates me. So, the Norris Trophy is awarded to the best defenseman. Now, this was won by Cale Makar last year from the Colorado Avalanche, which is not a huge surprise to anyone, and is very much his and Quinn Hughes's award to jostle between for the next 5 years at least. I've gone with Quinn Hughes as my favourite to win it, just because I think it's gonna switch hands this year. I think Quinn Hughes. He's had a big portion of time off and away from the game, getting his body right, and I think he could come out the blocks this year absolutely flying. And I just think that Quinn Hughes could have an absolutely massive season for the Canucks this year. What about? I mean, I suppose the real question is for your favourite, have you gone with Makar or have you gone with Hughes?
How dare you presume that it's one of those two picks? But no, I have gone Makar. I've gone the opposite of you, reigning champ. Um, for me, I think Quinn Hughes is a bit more unstable in Vancouver. He's talks about him getting traded. Is there too much? Is he going to be able to fully concentrate on his game this year? Which is why I've gone more for Makar. Plus, I think Colorado's going to do well. I've seen with McKinnon as well winning the MVP, so that's why I've gone for Makar on that side.
Yeah, that's reasonable. Yeah, I mean, it's a flip of a coin at this point, isn't it? I mean, they are both such elite players that yeah, I think that it could just be one or the other. Now, my outside pick, and again from a chat with yourself, I believe we have the same outside pick. We've both gone with Zach Rowen. Let's try that again. Zach Werenski from the Columbus Blue Jackets. If there was anyone for me who was capable of dethroning either of these two, it's Werenski. He had an absolutely outstanding year last year. Um, Showed really, really did show that he can be that franchise level defenseman. Um, what are your thoughts on Werenski? You think he's, albeit an outside shot for sure, but I think he's definitely got an opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, we could have just like flipped the picks and gone for myself for Quinn Hughes and you and Makar on the surprise pick. But I think out of any other defenseman who's going to make that step up, he made a huge step last year. Is he going to do it again this year with another year under his belt? I think it'd be exciting to watch. Whether he'd do it, I don't know. But I think out of everyone, I think he's the sort of the next in line, really.
Completely agree. Completely agree. I think he's Yeah, I think he's definitely shown he's got the capacity to be up in that sort of echelon of defensemen, which brings me to my kind of frustration with the Norris Trophy award because it's awarded to the best defenseman in the league, and I say that with inverted sort of quotations, sorry, um, because it's not given to the best defenseman in the league. It's given to the defenseman who puts up the most points, and I feel that there's a lot of very, very good defensive defensemen in the NHL who will never get a who will never get a consideration for a Norris Trophy because the points aren't there. And for me, I think if you have a an award for the best defensive forward, why is there not a separate award for the best defensive defenseman? So if you had an award for a defenseman that best displays the offensive side of the game, and then you had an award that was the defenseman showcasing the best defensive parts of the game, then I just think it gives an opportunity for more elite level defensemen in the NHL with different skill sets to get their necessary flowers and plaudits. But also as well, I think it just sort of levels the playing field a bit between them and the forwards. Yeah, I know. You got any thoughts on that? Am I talking crazy or?
No, I do get where you're coming from. I would say though, in terms of like who would you rather have on your team leading on your top blue line? Like, would you rather have a Cale McCarr, Quinn Hughes, who, I mean, by your point, are you trying to say that they might not be as good defensively? I don't know, but in terms of like another player, sort of Zadorov or Victor Hedman, or someone who's more defensive in that category, would you rather have a Quinn Hughes or a defensive defenseman on your top line? Which is where it comes down to where I think the best player should play the most minutes. It does that make sense?
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, I do want Cale Makar on my team, 100% because he scores the most points. But what I'm saying is, I think that him and Hughes, sorry, jostle for the award in the league for the best defenseman. But I think that there are defensemen in the NHL who are better at defending than those two are. Um, And I don't know. I just think it makes it a bit more fair if you've got one because I think then that what ends up happening is a lot of defensemen who spend their lives committing themselves to be really, really good defensively just never really get the sort of plaudits that they deserve. But for me,
Yeah.
you look at someone historically, someone like Bobby Orr. So okay, we're going to have the Norris Trophy for the defenseman who shows the best defensive traits, and then we're going to have the Bobby Orr Award for the best defensive defenseman, and go from there. That was
It's just
if
in
I
terms of
was
stats.
go on.
Yeah, what I was going to think is like obviously there's the Selkie defensive forward, but you could also go down the line of the most goals, most points, stuff like that. But do it for defensemen, whether it's block shots or sort of, I guess, sort of team save percentage or like how many shots allowed, etc. Have an actual stat that exemplifies defensiveness would be better than the sort of a subjective type nature of are they sort of defensive or not.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I suppose so. Oh God, I'd love that if there was an award in the NHL for for most block shots, and all of a sudden you're just going to have players like swan diving across the ice trying to get one in, try and stat pad the numbers. Uh, it would just look ridiculous. Anyway, enough on
It's
the
just how I
Norris.
play the NHL game, to be fair
Yeah,
to you.
yeah, it's how we all do it. We're all just hitting that L1R1 to drop to the floor. So we'll move on to the Vezina Trophy, which is awarded to the best goalie. Now, with him scooping up the Hart Trophy, Connor Hellebuck also was able to acquire a Vezina Trophy to go alongside it, which is just absolutely um, well, fair enough, really, isn't it? For me, Connor Hellebuck's my favourite for the Vezina again. I just think he's fantastic. I think he's far and away the best goalie in the NHL. And I think at the moment, again, it's his award to lose. I think he's just absolutely outstanding. Certainly through the first 82 games. Anything after that is up to interpretation. But yeah, I think he's a brilliant goaltender. And I've gone with Jay Cottinger of the Dallas Stars as my outside pick. It's kind of similar reasons as to what you mentioned with Rantanen for the Richard. I think that Dallas just they've got a very good team. And I think Ottinger's an absolutely terrific goalie. Obviously, he's big, he's got size. Probably going to be going away to the Olympics throughout the season as well. So he'll be riding high on the confidence of that. And I just think he's terrific. So again, I think it's Hellebuck's to lose, but yeah, Ottinger's my outside pick. So how about you? What have you got for the Vezina?
Yeah, so I think everyone knows goalkeeping's a bit of a minefield. You can have players doing great one year and then be shocking the next, and it all sort of depends on form and carrying it through. I've gone for Philip Gustafsson of me Minnesota Wild. Um, I think he showed last year he was a great goalkeeper, um, but he obviously shared the net with Flory, which took a lot of the shine and the sort of the view
Spotlight.
of him as a player.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Big time, especially for someone of Fleury's
so
caliber as well. It's always gonna, the spotlight was going to be on him all season, and Gustafsson very much kind of faded into the background. Sorry, go on.
yeah, no, you hit the nail on the head there perfectly. But I also think as well this year the Wild are good defensively, but they're not great. So what that means is I think Gustafsson will likely see a lot more pucks than maybe some other keepers. So therefore more opportunities to show off his skills and put together a good year. So that's sort of why I've gone for Gustafsson as opposed to the Hellebuck, who I think, and Ottinger, who I think are more sort of well-known names at this time. Um, but then my backup, my outsider pick, I think Bobrovsky. Again, same sort of reasoning. Panthers, they're suffering a few injuries now. What is their team going to look like? They're going to rely on their keeper a bit more potentially, and we all know how good he is. So I think he can follow up and potentially uh, win.
That's a great shout. That's a really great shout. Did you have Bobrovsky picked before the news of the Barkov injury, or did you make that pick afterwards?
No, I picked before, to be fair,
Oh,
but
okay.
I think it
No,
just feeds
that's
into my.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because I was going to say, especially with, they're going to be missing Kachuk for the best part of half of the season. They're going to be missing Barkov for the whole season. I still think, don't get me wrong, that team is still absolutely stacked. And if they do write off Alexander Barkov, for the season, obviously they put him on LTIR and his salary cap becomes sort of null and void, which opens that space up for, oh, I don't know, Sidney Crosby. Uh,
Oh, stop
um,
it!
but yeah, Bobrovsky's. I think he's going to be facing a few more pucks this year. I think just because they're a little bit obviously lighter out, lighter on the ice than they would be. So I think that. But yeah, that's a really good shout. And obviously we know the quality of Bobrovsky as it is, and yeah, it's. I think that's a very good shout. Yeah, no, we're going to be fueling or in fact, to tell you one better, and say if they eat half the deal, what about Connor McDavid to the to the Florida Panthers? God, could you imagine? Could you imagine if they just decide, we can't get this done, we can't get this contract done, we're just going to trade him, and yeah,
That's that sounds like a Madden franchise mode trade.
it
Rather than
doesn't it
anything else.
doesn't it just that is the most like hockey ultimate team thing you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll move into the Calder Trophy, which is awarded to the best rookie. Last year it was won by Lane Hudson of the Montreal Canadiens, the 5'9" pocket-sized defenseman, put up some absolutely freakish point numbers. He had an absolutely outstanding year last year. I can't think of the precise number off the top of my head, but he put up incredible defensive numbers. Um, Obviously, it's an award that I've been keeping an eye on a lot over the last few years, just because that tends to be where I've been looking because you know that's where the rookies are all out in Chicago. But for me,
Yeah.
and again, it's going to be the very vanilla pick. But for me, my favorite for the Calder this year is Ivan Demidov, and I think a lot of people share that same opinion. I think he has the potential to be an absolute stud. He's going into a Montreal team that's already fast, explosive, and I think he's just got an opportunity to put up a ridiculous amount of points and become a star in the league straight away. What about you? Who have you got as your sort of favorite pick? Did you go Demidov or did you go elsewhere?
No, I was tempted by Demidov. I'm not speaking about it now. I think I'd probably would go for Demidov, but no, I'm gonna stick to my guns. I'm gonna stick to my gut instinct. I think defenseman. I think it goes into our earlier conversation about point scoring defenseman, but Zane Pareka, I think that's how you pronounce it, Calgary Flames defenseman. I think he's going to have a great year. Big step up. He's got a great opportunity to get a lot of minutes played in Calgary, and I think he's just going to be set up well
Yeah, I
to do well,
really
really.
I really like that pick. Like you say, I think yeah, Pareki. I'm not sure. Um, we're not Canadian. We're um, I think that
Simple British people we are.
yeah, oh yeah, and the rest. I think Perret, like you said, he's got an opportunity to play so many minutes there in Calgary this year. I think he's also going to have an opportunity to. I'd be stunned if he was not sort of leading their first power play line as their sort of power play quarterback, so to speak, and the kind of puck distributor. So I could see him getting a load of points on the power play this year. Again, fast, explosive, plays with just like a level of swagger that is really exciting. I can imagine it does some people's heads in, but no, I really like that pick of Zane Perek. Um, my outsider pick, I mean, I had to get a Black Hawk in there. I've gone with Sam Rinzel. Um, Sam Rinzel, who's a guy that I don't think league wide is sort of massively being talked about a lot. Again, similar to Nazar, like I said at the start of the episode. I think he's someone who people are going to get to know very quickly. He played sort of 9, 10 games at the back end of last season in Chicago. Looked really, really impressive. Looked, ready to jump into the NHL straight away this year, which by all accounts he's going to do. And again, I think he's going to have an opportunity to play some really, really good minutes, probably on a pair with Alex Vlasic. Um, and I think that he's again going to be have an opportunity to sort of hold down that power play spot and get loads of points that way. So again, an outside pick because I think Demidov could absolutely run away with it. But yeah, I'd be remiss myself if I didn't at least say that Rinzel had a shot.
Yeah, and I had him as my second pick as well. I can't. I'm not going to sit here for a few minutes and repeat exactly what you've said. I think you've nailed it perfectly. This is my favourite award. I love it when fresh blood comes into the league and there's a bit of unknown. Like all the players that we've talked about before, we sort of know who they are, and it's just about well, how does the penny drop in terms of how the season goes essentially. But yes, Demidov is the absolute favourite. But you just never know how good these rookies are going to be in the NHL, and you just don't know, and that's what's really exciting.
Definitely, definitely, and I think as well. Obviously, again, it goes without saying, but one thing I really love about the Calder Trophy is it's a different winner every single year. Now I know that sounds kind of that sounds nonsensical because of course it is. It's for the league's best rookie, but like we've mentioned with the like the Norris Trophy, for example. That's just being passed back and forth between Makar and Hughes, and it's like. after a while, it's kind of like, okay, well, even before the season starts, we know who sort of two of the finalists are probably going to be. Um, but like you said, it's, with the Calder Trophy, these guys coming into the league who not necessarily everyone knows loads about. I know Demidov's received a lot of coverage, but you've got Demidov, you've got Zane Perek, Sam Rinzel, someone even like Jimmy Snuggerud playing at the St. Louis Blues. Um, is someone who I think is a lot of people's sort of outside choice there as well. Um, yeah, so I think I think it's a great award. It's always one that I look forward to each year. That moves us into our last award, which is for the Jack Adams, which is awarded to the best coach. Now that was won by Spencer Carberry last year of the Washington Capitals, who had a fantastic year behind the bench. A younger coach, definitely not a part of the kind of carousel of the old boys club that's at in NHL management at the moment. Yeah, it was really nice to see him come in and win that award. So who did you have for your pick for the Jack Adams?
Uh, I've tied this into the team that does the best this year, in my mind, and that's Jared Bednar with the Avalanche. Uh, that's essentially it. Not much really for me to say on that. However, I just wanted to touch on a fun fact that I don't know if you know. Um, but according to the bookies or FanDuel Sportsbook, Spencer Carberry, the winner last year, is the least favourite to win this year. They think he's going to go from the best
As in
coach in the
as in
league
he's
to
32nd.
he's 32nd.
That's crazy. I don't just okay.
He's just dropped off.
Fair
Yeah.
enough. Yeah, okay. I don't really know how they've landed at that, but fair enough, I suppose. But yeah, you're absolutely right in Bednar. I think I know we've discussed in a previous episode. For me, I think potentially he could be the surprise candidate to maybe lose his job this year, but that is entirely dependent on how the Avalanche look. But I think it could be one of the two. I think the Avalanche will either have a poorer than expected season, and they decide maybe we need to move on from this guy, or they're going to have a completely dominant year. They're going to clean up in the awards, and Bednar's going to take the Jack Adams home with him. So I don't hate that pick whatsoever. I went with another pocket-sized hockey player former hockey player now in Martin St. Louis, who's currently the coach of the Montreal Canadiens. Um, Again, I know we've discussed the Canadiens at length, sort of over the first few shows about sort of the capacity that they've got to make that big jump and solidify themselves as a playoff team this year. And I just think that especially you chuck Ivan Demidov into that mix as well, and they're going to be a team that play fast and they're exciting, and they're going to have a lot of people talking about them, and that's going to bring Saint Louis into focus a lot, I think, and especially if he's able to make that jump with the team. And get them into a playoff contending spot, then I think that potentially the Jack Adams could be awarded to him. Um, any final touching thoughts on any of our awards before we move into some quick fire team predictions?
No, I think we got a good selection of players here. I like how we agreed on only a couple of things, so it's going to prove some interesting conversations as we go through the year and sort of keep track of how things go. But no, yeah, we thought we'd touch upon at the end. We're not going to go into great lengths of discussions about our picks here. This is more about putting something on tape about what our prediction's going to be for the teams that make the playoffs and who reach the conference finals and then who is in and then wins the Stanley Cup, just so we can make ourselves look foolish again at the end of the year. So
Yeah, this is our opportunity to out ourselves massively now, so that we can get so that we can get clapped back at the end of the year. So what we're going to do is we've got each conference, Western and Eastern. We've got each of our divisions. We're just going to go 1, 2, 3, where we think they're going to finish in those playoffs, as well as who's going to take those wild card spots. Conference finals, Stanley Cup winner. So let's get it official then. Western Conference, Pacific Division. Who have you got?
1, Vegas Golden Knights. 2, Edmonton Oilers. 3, Anaheim Ducks.
Okay. I have a very similar list, but slightly flipped. I've gone Edmonton Oilers at 1, Vegas Golden Knights at 2, and again, the Anaheim Ducks at 3.
I couldn't believe it when I saw you put the Ducks in at 3 as well. I thought I was going wild there. But yeah, anyway, let's not talk about it too much.
Okay,
um,
Central
so,
Division.
who have you got?
1, Winnipeg Jets. 2, Colorado Avalanche. 3, Dallas Stars.
Right. So I've got the Avalanche at 1, the Jets at 2, and my Minnesota Wild at 3.
Yeah, completely reasonable. Again, it was I nearly went with the Wild over the Stars. Ended up taking the Wild as my first wild card spot, followed by the St. Louis Blues.
And I've gone for the Stars in my first wildcard spot, with the Blues again in second. So we've
Okay.
actually got the exact same teams in slightly different orders there.
Yeah.
Who have you got reaching the conference finals?
Conference finals, I've gone with the Edmonton Oilers against the Winnipeg Jets.
I've gone for the Colorado Avalanche against the Vegas Golden Knights. So there we go.
Okay. Moving into the Eastern Conference then. So, Atlantic Division. I have gone with the Maple Leafs at 1, the Panthers at 2, and the Tampa Bay Lightning at 3.
I've gone for the Lightning at 1, Maple Leafs at 2, and the Panthers at 3. Same teams, different order.
Okay. I have gone in the Metro. I have gone with the Hurricanes winning the division, with the Devils finishing second, and the New York Rangers in third.
So I've gone Hurricanes 1, Rangers 2, and Devils 3. So same teams, different order.
And I have gone with the Montreal Canadiens and the Columbus Blue Jackets as my wildcard selections.
You sound like a broken record here, but I have the Montreal Canadiens and the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Okay, well, we're aligned. We're aligned in where we're at with everything. So at least when we publish these on our social medias for the podcast, at least we know we're going to have a similar consensus. Okay,
Yeah.
conference final. Who have you got?
So I've gone for the Hurricanes against the Canadiens.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. I have also gone with the Hurricanes against the Florida Panthers.
Yeah.
Which leads us to our Stanley Cup final prediction. So I believe you have the Hurricanes and the Avalanche as your two.
Yeah, those are my two teams, and my Stanley Cup prediction is the Avalanche. No surprise there with my picks for the player awards above, but I think the Avalanche are going to beat the Hurricanes.
Okay. I have gone with, so I had Winnipeg against Carolina. I've gone with the Jets to overcome the Hurricanes and win the Stanley Cup. Connor Hellebuck banishes away the myth that he can't perform in the playoffs, and he gets them over the line. Okay,
Yeah,
so there you go.
Carolina.
They are locked. Yeah, I know. They are locked in. So we can now look ridiculous when the season's all said and done. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think with that in mind, that kind of brings us to the end of our, I say, slightly shorter episode, clocking in just about 50 minutes. The pre-season is well underway. Hockey will be back soon. We will be running into our season sort of weekly breakdowns. I can't wait personally, but I've really enjoyed sort of wrapping up the off season with yourself, and yeah, really excited as we're one day closer to NHL hockey being back.
Oh, absolutely. Just over a week away for the first game of the season. You'll have a podcast or two between now and us breaking down the regular season. There'll be podcasts coming out later this week, recapping the majority of the not the playoffs, the pre-season, sorry. Followed by a mini episode next week. Yeah,
Happy days. Happy days. Well, as always, any feedback, 5-star reviews, nice comments is always welcome. Even if you don't want to put a nice comment, you can still put a 5-star review. That would really help us. Even if you want to, destroy me and Nathaniel emotionally, if you leave it with a 5-star review, then that's absolutely fine by me. You can also find us on X and Instagram at the PBP podcast. And you can also get in contact with us on Gmail at penaltyboxperspective@gmail.com if you want to submit any feedback or ideas for shows or questions or anything like that. But yeah, certainly as we move into the season, these sort of podcasts we've been tending to release sort of on Monday, Tuesday time. If you've got any ideas for anything that you want to talk about, then just let us know, and we'll be, we'll try and do as much as we can. But yeah, as always, yeah, thank you guys for tuning in.
yeah. Thank you all very much, and we hope to catch you next time. Goodbye.